So you received a lot of Emmy Awards and nominations for Dancing with the Stars since you started. Can we talk about the Emmy you received for something called the Steadicam Tango?
Right.
What exactly is that? Can you explain?
Was fortunate enough again to be doing Dancing with the Stars, and one of the seasons, I can't remember what season it was now, third or fourth season. Alex called me and he said, "Listen," he says, "I have this idea, and that I want to do this whole dance on just one camera, on the Steadicam." He says, "Are you up for it?" Of course, you know me. I mean, I'm always up for the challenge. So I said, "Of course, yeah, sure." So it was a tango that was designed strictly for the Steadicam, and so it was a one-shot deal, live, you know, whole thing, 4 minutes, and it was two couples, and it was kind of an intricate thing that we did, Dancing with the Stars. So it turned out pretty well.
Did you have a lot of rehearsal time for that?
No, not really. We came in one day, we set it up, and then we worked on it for a couple of hours, and then the next thing I did it one rehearsal with the orchestra, and then that was it. The next time we're live on the air.
Did you approach that differently than you do when you are just doing shots intermittently?
Yeah, yeah, I did that. You know, totally, because again, nobody tells you what to do, so I had to memorize the whole choreography. Okay, I had to memorize where I had to go. I had to memorize what speed I had to go. I had to memorize. Sometimes I went between them. Sometimes I went around them. Sometimes I went. So all those things, and the timing was very, very precise. You know, just little nuances of the dance that people don't even notice, but you know, there's a time where the two of the dancers are foreground, and the other dancers are one of the dancers is in front, and they're crossing between them. Well, you know, if I go too fast, I block everybody. If I go too slow, I can't get them in. So the timing had to be perfect in order to get everything aligned with the whole choreography, you know. So
was the director telling you what he was looking for, or were you kind of deciding what shots, how you were going to do it?
During the original rehearsal, he told me he wanted to see certain things. The speed, the size, and everything of the shots was all up to me, you know. So yeah, so he designed, and the dancers designed the choreography of the dance and the camera, but everything else was up to me.
So with Idol and Dancing with the Stars, I think you've also done America's Got Talent, and So You Think You Can Dance. What's your opinion of reality television, those types of shows?
I think to me, reality television, other than the voting part, it's a variety show. So it has given way to really variety shows that now have people voting, you know, and so I'm kind of glad, you know. Really, it has sparked a lot of work for us, you know. It has given us a chance to maybe bring back variety. They're even thinking about doing a variety show. So I like them. I enjoy them. I don't know about. I like the variety shows that like Dancing with the Stars and American Idol and stuff like that. I don't know about the other you know, the other reality things like Survivor and all of that. You know, I'm not into those.
Are there any other shows or specials that you've worked on that we haven't talked about that you'd like to mention?
Well, I've you know, probably some of the most things that to me that have now gone into with history, with kind of things like the presidential inaugurals. You know, it's very, you know, to me, just being in places like that at the time, what do you call it, the inaugural of President Obama, the inaugural of Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton. All those things are very interesting because you know, unique shows that if it wasn't for the job that I do, I probably would never be able to be there. You know, so it has brought me to, you know, let me see and let me do things. And I think that's probably the thing that I enjoy the most about my job, that it has given me a few things. One, the ability to travel the world over the ability to be in places where most people can't get to, can't be there. The ability to meet people that I would never be able to meet under, circumstances. I met the Pope. I met, presidents. Just because I'm there. They say hi, hello. So you meet them. So that to me is what's rewards that I have done with this job that has brought to me.
What do you think, going back to talking about the presidential inaugurals, what would you think, what would surprise people about what goes on behind the scenes of those?
Oh, how intense and how difficult it really is to, people don't realize what it takes to put in something like that, the security, the amount of work that it takes to bring something like that. I've done the Democratic conventions in Detroit. I think it was Detroit. Yeah, Detroit. Republican conventions, things like that. Things of that nature are very difficult because just the logistics of what you're doing and where you are and stuff and just the difficulties. Yeah. Is
there a different vibe when you do an inaugural like Obama versus maybe George Bush or another
definitely.
President?
There's a different vibe when I go. Every president that I've gone to the White House with has a totally different vibe. When I do the Kennedy Center, and for the Kennedy Center, every year I go to the White House because that's where they present the president presents the honorees in the East Room. So every year I go to the White House to do that, and every year there's a different vibe with every president. It's just that you walk into the White House, just the decorations, everything about it is totally different. Every president is totally different. Yeah.
On September 11th, with the terrorist attacks, were you working?
Yes. Uh-huh.
What were you doing?
On September 11th, I remember waking up and going to work. I was doing the Latin Music Awards at the Forum, and I remember turning on the radio. I was going to the Forum at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I hear a plane crashed. Plane crashed on Twin Towers. I go, oh my God, plane crashed in Twin Towers. And I'm driving down. Then as I get closer and stuff, and I hear, a second. I think I'm not sure, but I think I called my wife, and I said, hey, turn on the TV or turn the radio. Something's going on. And so I hear the second one. And when I got to work at the Forum, there was nothing but police all around. And I said, no, this is not just somebody plane crash into a building, So I didn't know what was happening at the time. Nobody knew. So I got there, and everybody was huddled into a group. Walter Miller was directing, and a Pierre Cassette production. And we all got together, and they turned on the TV, and we all started to watch, and everybody was, just never forget that. You can't forget that. Yeah.
So what did you decide to stop
working? We were there till about 11 o'clock in the morning, and they said, we can't go on, so they canceled the show. They dropped everything,
So working in the entertainment industry at that time, then, what was the vibe or the feeling, the atmosphere then working in entertainment after 9/11?
It was hard. It was hard because you're caught between the fact that all these people have died, all these things have happened, and you're doing what? You're over here getting laughs or doing dancing or whatever, So it was very difficult. It was very difficult for a long time. I remember people talking about it, at work, And I had a lot of friends that at the time were in New York, and they were just finishing a show with Michael Jackson, and so they got caught in the whole thing. Yeah.
How long do you think it took before it sort of started to bounce back, where it was okay to want to entertain again?
I'd say a while. I'd say about 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. it took a while.
So do you have a preference between doing a weekly series, whether it's like Dancing with the Stars or a sitcom, and doing just a one-time special?
I used to have a preference, and I used to be that I never got involved in anything more than once. If it was 4 days, that was too long, But Dancing with the Stars, like I said, it's a different type of show. It has given me the ability now to really, and what I didn't say before is that Dancing with the Stars not only is a challenging show, is that we have become a real family, and the producers, the director, all the camera guys, there is such a great vibe there, for the show. We have such great fun that you don't. You enjoy it. I enjoy it very much. So I would say that I don't know if I would do another series, like that, like Dancing with the Stars. But for now, I'm having a lot of fun, and I enjoy it very much. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So we talked all about your television experience, but you did mention earlier that you worked on This Is Spinal Tap with Rob Reiner.
Yeah, that was
so
fun.
What exactly did you do? Was it camera work?
Yeah, I did camera work on Spinal. What happened was that Rob called me one day. I was doing All in the Family, so we were talking, and then he got this movie. He's directing this movie, and he's writing this movie, and helping write this part of the. He was a writer and director in this movie, and so he calls me one day, and he says, "Hey," he says, "I'm doing this rock and roll movie, not movie, it's rock and roll, shooting all this stuff for a rock and roll band. It's kind of a funny thing and stuff." He said, "I want you to shoot it for me and stuff. I want you to help me with it and stuff." And I said, "Okay, great, yeah." So it was just a couple of us, Tom Guerin and myself, and so we went out and we went to this little studio in La Brea, and they had everything set up like a rock and roll stage, and then we shot this band, and we shot all this stuff because he wanted to do it on video as opposed to film. Some of the movie is shot, of course, on film, but all the rock and roll, all the band numbers and all the band stuff, on performances and all that, he wanted to shoot on video because he wanted it to look like we were out, shooting video, so like television. So that's what we did. We shot all the sequences for all the rock and roll band stuff. Now and to be honest, I didn't even know I did the film. I had no idea when I did it. I just did that, and I had no idea. Then years later, maybe 10 years later, somebody said to me, "Hey, I saw your name on a movie," and I go, "What are you talking about? It has to be somebody else." He says, "No, I saw your movie. It's a thing." So I looked, and sure enough, there's my name, in the credits, and stuff. But I didn't even know I had done that, So
you did watch it?
Yeah, I did watch it. Yeah, it was very funny. Yeah.
And are you surprised that it had such a following?
Oh my God, it's become a cult movie. And as a matter of fact, I worked with another British director because it's a real cult movie, I guess, in England. It's become a real cult movie in England. I worked with another Hamish. This director from England, and somehow on the PL, the conversation, I don't know why it came up, something about, I was doing in New York, I was working at Madison Square Garden, doing Usher, and the conversation came around the PL, and somebody says, "Well, Hector worked on Spinal Tap," and he goes, "What?" He says, "You worked on Spinal Tap?" I go, "Yeah." So he goes, "No." He goes, "You kidding?" So he stopped everything. He come out and he says, "I just have to touch you, man." He says, "I grew up," because he's a young director. He says, "Are you kidding?" He says, "I watched that 100 times." He says, "It's become like this movie thing." He says, "Well,
Did you do any other feature films?
No. Yeah, I did Osterman Weekend with Burt Lancaster, and I worked on that. Yeah.
Do you like television? I mean,
yeah.
Over movies.
Yeah.
And is there a reason, or?
Yeah, I just they work too long on those films. You're away shooting for months at a time and stuff. Yeah, and I don't know. It's just I like television better. I did work in a few movies, and I've been around them and stuff. I just never, the vibe was never good. For me. So I never got interested in it.
So we talked a lot about different cameras and how things have evolved over the years. What would you say is the most significant technological advancement to the field throughout your career?
The invention of the minicam. The minicam revolutionized everything. Look, it revolutionized the news world. Everybody used to go out and film, shoot film. And then when ENG cameras became, popular, everything was instant TV. Look at today, the minicams. Now today, the cameras are so small, you can put them in your pocket, and look from all over the world. You just flip up a little camera and they're on live TV. So I think the invention of the minicam was the most important thing, yeah.
What are the elements of a good composition for you?
Oh, wow. Composition to me is it's the balance between the subject and the surroundings. Visually, a good composition pleases you when you're watching it. You don't know, people don't know why, but you look at a picture and you go, "Wow, what a great picture." Now, people that say that don't exactly know why it's a great picture, but I think that if you present it with good composition, if you present a bad composition, they go, "Ooh, what a bad picture." Still, they don't know why. But I think the balance between whatever you're shooting, your subject and the background or foreground, is what makes it, what makes great composition.
So how do you describe your style as far as the visual approach that you have?
I would say that edgy. I always managed to, and again, composition is something that you either have or you don't have. I think that you can enhance what you have, but I don't think if you don't have a good eye for certain things, for good composition, you're not going to have it. If you have a good eye for composition, you might be able to. You can enhance that by learning a little bit. And I was fortunate enough to have people teach me that. Okay, but I think the root of composition you have to have is something that has to come natural to you. My style of composition, I think, is edgy, only because I was told that very early on, and I remember doing one of the shows with a fellow called Paul Bogart. I think it was All in the Family early on. Paul Bogart came in a few years later, great director, and he came in to do All in the Family. And I was doing some, and I put up a shot, and the TD told me, he says, "Hector, you're a little bit centered that a little bit," and I didn't want to center it. I wanted it the way I want, the way I was shooting it, right? And he goes, "Center." He says, "You're off. You're not centered." And Paul Bogart says to the TD, he says, "Hey, leave him alone." He says, "That's what I want. I don't want to center neither. That's great composition." So then he told me that. He says, "I like your style." He says, "You got an edgy style." So that's what I do. And I don't do it consciously, really, I just do it. It's something that, as a camera operator, you kind of do. You don't kind of think about it,
Do you look at other shows and other things that are going on right now and kind of, try to keep up with those things or see what other people are doing? Or?
Yeah, I do what other people, I see what other people are doing, appreciate what other guys do and stuff like that, but I don't try to copy, I don't try to mimic or try to copy what they do. I just let whatever I do, I do. I don't think that you can, that you can do any good or you can be any good by copying somebody else's style. Because how are you going to copy any style? I don't know what is in his head. I don't know what he's looking at. I don't know what he's feeling. So so for me, it's I do what I do and I don't even think about it.
Have you shot in 3D?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what do you think?
I think 3D is it's okay. I just don't, the equipment right now, it's very, very bulky, very difficult, and so I would have to wait a few years. But right now, I don't particularly like working on 3D because of the equipment. It's just impossible. It's just so big and bulky. Yeah.
What did you work on in 3D?
We did a thing on the Grammys on 3D, and we done a concert, in 3D. Yeah. Years ago, we tried to do 3D. 20 years ago, we did a thing called Devo. Remember a group called Devo? We tried to shoot it in 3D. But it was many, many years ago. We were way ahead of our times. But, it's still kind of, new and bulky, the equipment,
We talked a little bit before about being on staff back in, when you first started in the early 70s with the Norman Lear shows and CBS. And how did that change, and when did that change over to become, you're not really on staff anymore? It's all freelance work.
The change came over again. The equipment changes drove the changes in how we did things. Up to then, up to the mid 70s, late 70s, maybe 79 or so, the only place that you could do a show was at a television studio. There were television trucks, there were television mobile units. You can do sports and things, but it was very difficult to do a drama or anything outside, anywhere else, but in a television studio, because there was no facilities really. But when the equipment started to change, the mini cams came on, the handheld cameras came off, and everything. That changed where producers could go. Producers can now go on location to shoot, and so they could get away from the networks, from the studio. And in the 80s, there was for whatever reason, there was I think to shoot everything on remotes, on location. And we traveled the world doing it. I did Perry Como, for many, many years, Christmas specials in Mexico, in Guadalajara, in Paris, in England, and and Jerusalem, and stuff. So because the equipment, we can put it in a flight pack, we can put it in boxes and stuff, and go anywhere and shoot. So I think that once that happened, in 1979, I was still staff on CBS, but I was getting, the same people that I work with at CBS, same directors, same producers, were now calling me from the outside, saying, "Hey, Hector, I want you to, come to work. I want to do this show. I want you to do this show," and stuff like that. So at one point, I just said, "You know what? It's time to leave. It's time to go." And then, everything kind of went that way.
So do you, as a freelancer, then, do you go after, prior to Dancing with the Stars, and getting that as a weekly thing, did you have to go after work, or did it mostly come to you because of the
I was fortunate that because of all the people that I met, and all the directors, all the producers, all the production, associate producers and stuff that I met during the time that I was at CBS. Now they're working outside. Well, who did they go to? They only knew the people that were working at the networks. So they were calling on us to go work for them, because there was hardly any freelancers in those days, So I started, I left CBS on a Friday and I started working on a Saturday, and I've never stopped working since, So I've never had to look for work.
For people who have, I mean, how do you think that change affected the industry and the crews, having to go from being able to be on staff to having to look for work?
Yeah, well, for the crews and for the guys and girls, it changed it tremendously, because you got a job at a place like CBS. You were there, whether you were working on a show or not working on a show, you were still getting paid. But once the producers started hiring you freelance, everything started going freelance, the networks had nothing to do. So you had this big crews, on the networks, which slowly, they dwindled to just about bare bones. And for us, the work started happening. Now the guys that made their names, kind of, so to speak, they knew the producers, directors, and they all knew you. Well, now they had nowhere else to go but us, So and they wanted us to work for them. So yeah. So, and the thing about it today is that, unfortunately, there's no place for a young guy that comes out of Texas or Oklahoma or anywhere to come to ask for a job. So how do you get a job doing what I do? See? And so now it's I have to come here or go to New York, go to mainly LA and New York, and look for work, get to know people, get to know other camera guys and stuff, get a little experience on small shows and stuff, and then hopefully you can jump on one of the big shows.
So that's the advice that you would give to aspiring camera operators today is to...
I think that locally, I think what I would say is that to them is that wherever you're at, you have to figure out something to do wherever you're at right there. You have to get experience. So go to a TV station, get some hours, get some time behind a camera, or whatever you want to do. There's so many different areas in television. Camera work is my area, but this video, this videotape, this editing, there's all kinds of things. So I would say get experience wherever you're at. Work wherever place you can get a job until you can, someday come out to California, with some experience in New York and stuff, and then meet people and try to get on. It's not difficult. Reality shows today, they employ a lot of people. That's the thing about the good thing about reality shows. They giving way for the new guys to do it. So that's we had a few guys that have come out of reality, and now they're doing mainstream variety shows and television.
So we've talked a lot about memorable experiences throughout your career. Is there anything we haven't touched on that has been a memorable experience for you that you'd like to mention?
That has been a memorable experience. Well, we talked about Monaco. No, I think that we kind of touched on everything, along the way here. I've had a great career, It's been fun. I mean, I've had tremendous fun. Like I said before, I've been places that done things that I can't imagine not being able to do, even if I was rich. It's just, it doesn't happen, And so meeting people that I have not had, would never have the opportunity to meet. So I'm very thankful that, I've been healthy and people like what I do.
You do hold the record for the most Emmy nominations.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So what does that mean to you? What does that feel like?
It's great. I mean, I don't even know how I got that, to tell you the truth. I mean, it came to a surprise when they told me last year, that I had the most nominations and stuff like that. Look, I never have done this. I've never done it. I never do what I do thinking, oh my God, I want an Emmy. I want to get an Emmy. That happened because, it's just happened. So that it happened, I'm thankful, and I'm great, and and it's great, it's been and stuff. But I just thank the people that helped me along the way, to get to this point and to be able to do that,
Of all the Emmys that you've won, do you have any that means something to you? Is there one that stands out more than another?
I think two shows. I mean, the Copperfield shows and Dancing with the Stars. The last couple that I got for Dancing with the Stars, because those two shows have given me the ability to really showcase and to give what I have, give my best, and so fortunately I've been rewarded, nicely, and so yeah, those two shows, yeah.
Do you attend the award ceremony when you're nominated?
I did last year. I haven't done it all. Because you know what? Most of the time I was working, because I did the Emmys for many, many years. So most of the time I was working, and the craft awards came always in like the Saturday before or the week before, and I was always working. So I've never been haven't been able to attend. But last year we did, and we had a great fun and great dinner and great dancing and stuff.
So as part of a large technical team, when you win, do you ever get to give the speech? Did you get to give the speech?
Yeah, I got to give the speech last year. They elect the other guys elected me, I guess by default. Everybody stepped backwards and they left me in front of the mic.
And what was that Emmy win for?
Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, what was the speech?
I thank everybody. I thank the producers, of course, Alex, and for the opportunity, and I thank my team members. It was very funny. Very good. It was a lot of fun. My wife was there, and we all had a great time.
So we talked a little bit about advice that you would give to someone starting out. What do you think makes a good camera operator? What qualities do you need to have?
I think a good camera operator is the ability to recognize and to produce and to give whatever the director needs, the producer's needs, whatever their needs are, to be able to replicate what they see in their head, their visions, and so that's sometimes hard to do because you let your own ideas, and sometimes those ideas are not, they're not the same as the director. So for me, it's not about what I want. It's about what he wants. And so look in my own creative ideas to it. Fortunately, I have had directors through my whole career that have let me do that. And so, after a while, you kind of get, you get the idea. Well, I'll do what I want. Not what I want to do, but I do what I do, and that's what they want. So, but to me, is that to be able to interpret what a director wants, what his idea is for this particular shot or for this particular scene or whatever it is, and to be able to put it on the screen.
What would you say has been the key to your success, or the secret to your success and your longevity in television?
I think that the ability to adjust to the different equipment, first of all, the different technological changes that have come a long ways. Like I said, I've done everything. The ability to be able to do different things, different cameras. There's guys that specialize in doing one thing. They don't know how to do anything else. You see, I've done everything, just about, And so I think that that has, because I've gone from doing cranes, the Chapman cranes, pedestals. I've done to handhelds. I've done some little bit of jib work, little bit of, and then Steadicams, remote cameras, hotheads, Luma cranes. I learned to do all those things. So now I'm not pigeonholed into one thing. So I've been able to, whatever happens and whatever it is, I can do it.
So you've been doing this for, I think it's more than 40 years now, right?
I think so. My first job was, let me see, it was, I remember August of 1968.
So do you ever get tired of it?
No. And that's the other thing, too. I think that people always ask me, my God, how long are you going to do this? Do you still enjoy doing this? If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. I mean, that's just, I just would not. I can't get up in the morning at 5 o'clock. I can't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to work at 4:30 in the morning, put that rig on with 65 pounds and run around if I didn't enjoy it. I mean, it's just no way, So other than I like the challenge, and I enjoy the work, I enjoy the people that I work with, and I've always enjoyed it.
So no plans to retire anytime soon?
I don't have any plans. I might have to, but I don't have any plans.
What advice would you give to someone as they're about to appear on camera? So someone, like someone like on Idol. Is there any advice you would give to someone? Maybe someone's nervous, they're getting ready to go on. Is there anything you can tell them?
They're always nervous. I said, the thing is that exactly what I do, because, believe it or not, I've been doing this 40 odd years, right? Whatever it is. I still get nervous. No, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not like I just approached all this stuff and like boom, like I'm doing this. Like I've been doing this for 40 years, so forget it. You know, it's like piece of cake. No, every show, there's always a 10-minute before live show where there's still that adrenaline, that butterflies. What am I going to do? I got to look. I got to check. I got to do. There's a nervousness that happens, you know. But once I start, I don't think about anything. I just think about what I have to do, and I have the ability to isolate everything. Just get rid of everything and just concentrate on what I have to do. And so I would say that just concentrate on what you have to do, ignore everything else, and that's something that's a process that you learn, you know, as you do it through the years.
What would you say has been the highlight of your career?
The highlight of my career. Wow. Wow, I never thought about that. I think the recognition that I've gotten, you know, really, from people that I don't even know. I mean, you know, people call me, people send me texts. I go to places and they, you know, I go to New York, I go to Miami. People walk up and say, "Hey, I just want to meet you," you know, and so, yeah, it's just that to me, that's it. You know, the recognition that I have gotten, which I never thought, you know, in a million years, you know, that I would get, you know. And I remember years ago, the fellow that kind of started me in this whole thing, which I actually, you know, the fellow that I kind of, this guy, he was a cameraman for ABC, Noel. His name is Noel Newman, and he was very not only instrumental, but I kind of mimic him, you know, in a way of how he was, you know, his kind of his way of, he's a funny guy, everybody liked him, he's, you know, and stuff. So, you know, I kind of mimic him and stuff. But he told me one time, I remember leaving ABC and stuff, and he says, "Hey, I want you to be the greatest cameraman." And I said, "Okay, I'm going to try."
Nice. What do you think is the most important image you've captured in your career?
Important image. I would have to say, historically, historically was Richard Nixon at San Clemente, crying. Yeah, after he got after the Watergate case, you know. I mean, there's been many, you know, many pictures, you know, in my during my career. But I think that picture, I still have it in my head. You know, was the only camera. It was a carpool. I was a pool camera for CBS News, and they sent me down there, and I was in the compound. And I think that when he came to California after Watergate, it was that to me was wow. I said I couldn't. I remember thinking, my God, look where I am. I mean, I'm watching this president of the United States, most powerful man in the world, and he's crying. You know, that was.
So, in doing work for CBS News, are there any other news stories that you?
No, I actually wasn't doing. I kind of was working, for CBS News, but at the time, you know, they kind of. I don't know why this. Why did you send me out there, Alma? And at the time, they kind of send you wherever they wanted to, and I just happened to. I think probably I was just happened to be available, you know, because it was kind of a last minute kind of a thing that they send out there.
Do you have any regrets throughout your career?
Regrets? No.
How would you like to be remembered?
I would say that just a guy that worked hard, took great pictures.
All right. Thank you very much, Hector, for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.